In my last life, I didn't know until I died that my husband had an illegitimate son. In order to leave my dowry to his own son. Not only did he kill me off, he also sold our daughter. This time, I'll sell you guys. The woman gets sold into a brothel. The man gets sold into a male brothel. Don't you just love getting things without working for them? Then I'll let you earn money just by lying down. Ching ching. Could our 10 plus years of marriage be fake? Are you not even willing to live and die with me? Hearing the familiar question, I finally confirmed that I was reborn on the day Xiananzhou had his first stroke. In my last life, he also asked me if I was willing to live and die with him. At that time, I thought our love as husband and wife was deep, and he couldn't bear to part with me, so I nodded in agreement. Turns out, this old bastard wanted to take me to die with him, and then let his white moonlight and illegitimate son inherit my estate. Thinking of the ending in my last life where not even my daughters and my bones were left. This time, I looked at the unsteady Xiananzhou and said with a smile, "Of course, husband, I will definitely let you and your beloved die together." Having gotten a satisfactory answer, he dropped his affectionate facade and casually ordered me, "Quick, get me something to eat. I'm sick now, I need to get some proper nourishment." In my last life, because the doctor said one shouldn't eat greasy or overly sweet things after a stroke, so I always controlled his diet. Because of this, he flew into a rage at me once. He even threw a vase directly at me. Afterwards, he knelt down, crying and begging me to forgive him, saying he was sick and afraid of losing me, and that is why he couldn't control his emotions. Thinking back now, Xiananzhou is just an entitled moocher. Ever since we got married, he hasn't earned a single cent. The whole family's life completely relies on my clothing shop. While I was serving him with all my heart and soul, he went behind my back and hooked up with his own cousin. This time, I'd like to see if he can even live another 10 years without my control. I ordered the old servant woman in the house to go buy things according to his requests. With no one to control him, Xiananzhou couldn't be bothered with the gentlemanly appearance he usually put on, and wolfishly devoured all the food. Watching the way his mouth was dripping with grease, a wave of nausea washed over me. Before I could even gag, a coy, startled cry came from the doorway. Yi heard that cousin is sick and was worried to death. Following the voice, a waft of cheap rouge drifted past me and threw itself into Xiananzhou's arms. Xiananzhou, whose reactions were already sluggish from his stroke, was caught off guard and fell completely backward with a bang. The back of his head hit the ground hard. "Ah!" he screamed out in pain, thinking of my past life, how I was deceived by that bastardly couple until my family was ruined and its members dead. I wish I could flay them alive right now, but I can't let them die so easily. I gathered all my strength and pressed down on Lu Yir's head as she tried to struggle up, forcefully slamming it into Xiananzhou's third leg. "Ah! Ah!" The roars of the two shook the entire street. As my neighbors flocked out to watch the commotion, I bolted out of the yard, shouting as I ran. "Oh no! My husband has been made a eunuch by his cousin." The neighbors quickly gathered around, pointing and gossiping about the man and woman in the yard. The doctor, who was called, quickly diagnosed the situation. Due to the impact on the back of his head, Xiananzhou's stroke worsened. Symptoms would include a crooked face, drooling, and a limp arm and leg. Xiananzhou was furious upon hearing this, and pointing a trembling finger at his beloved cousin, he said, Yu Yir's face was full of wronged tears as she pleaded in a delicate voice, "Cousin, Yi didn't mean to." Her pitiable appearance made Xiananzhou's heart soften, and his reprimands turned into a surge of tenderness. Watching the two exchange affectionate glances, the neighbors all looked at my head with sympathy. The doctor interrupted their affection. "I have one good news and one bad news. Which do you want to hear first?" Lu Yir, acting every bit like the lady of the house, took Xiananzhou's hand and said, "Hear the bad news. Whatever it is, I'll get through it with you, cousin." "Doctor, the bad news is the patient's lower body is severely injured, and he'll no longer have the ability to have sex." As soon as he spoke, the entire courtyard fell silent. After a long while, Xiananzhou suddenly reacted, and with a roar of "ah," he convulsed and passed out. The doctor hurriedly pressed hard on his philtrum to wake him up. Doctor, there is good news too, Shinanjo weakly asked. What is the good news? Doctor, the good news is, your stroke is so severe, you won't be needing that thing anymore anyway. TFF'd. Shinanjo sprayed out a mouthful of blood and passed out completely. And I immediately reacted, rushing forward, wailing to play the part of a pitiful wife seeking justice for her husband. First, I went smack, smack, landing 2 slaps on Shinanjo's face, trying to wake him up. While slapping him, I shouted in a voice that echoed through the entire alley, "My husband, you have to be strong. You were no different from a eunuch in bed before anyway." The moment I said that, the neighbors at the gate all looked down at Shinanjo's crotch in unison, and the sound of their whispered jeers was exceptionally jarring. And Shinanjo, who had just been slapped awake by me, could only continue to feign unconsciousness with his swollen cheeks, to escape this embarrassing social death. The sniffling Liu Yer beside me grabbed the hand I raised again and said with a green tea Zan-like apology, "Sister Zanin Zan Law, how could you slander my cousin? It is all Yer's fault. If you're going to hit someone, hit me." Ah. Before she could finish her nonsense, my slap landed on her face, just as she wished. I scoffed. "Since you're asking for a beating, then today I'll show you why flowers are so red." Smack, 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 smack. 6 slaps in a row sent Liu Ye reeling. Finally, covering her mouth, she spat out a molar. Her defenses completely shattered, and she let out a piercing scream. "Su Wangqing, you bitch who can't even keep a man! How dare you hit me!" I yanked Liu Ye up by the collar, and just as I was about to go at her again, someone suddenly ran in and pushed me away. The person stood in front of Liu Ye and threatened me viciously. "Su Wangqing, I'm going to make eldest uncle divorce you. I'll make sure you can never see eldest uncle for the rest of your life, and can't serve him. Even if he dies sick in bed, I won't let you carry his shit and piss." Hearing this, my expression immediately changed. He continued to threaten proudly. "What, scared now? Then hurry up and kneel down and kowtow to my mother to admit your mistake. Otherwise, I'll have my mother serve my eldest uncle, and you'll starve to death." How cheap was I before, still craving this? I looked at the boy with a gloomy face in front of me. He was the bastard born between Shinanjo and Liu Ye, taking his surname from Liu Ye's ex-Dian husband, and his name was Wang Dazhuang in my last life. It was him who saw that Shinanjo was gravely ill and goaded him into taking me to die with him. Even when it came to throwing my corpse off the cliff, he was the most enthusiastic one. I was originally thinking of dealing with that dog couple first, and then going to settle the score with him. Unexpectedly, he actually came looking for abuse himself. Wang Dazhuang thought I was silent because I was afraid of losing Shinanjo, and became even more smug. "Su Wangqing, why aren't you on your knees yet?" Before he could finish, I grabbed a stool and threw it over. He was quick to dodge, but the unlucky one was Liu Ye behind him, who took a solid hit from the stool. Everyone was dumbfounded. I clapped my hands and said nonchalantly, "This great job of carrying shit and piss to serve someone. Just let your mom do it." Stunned by the blow, Liu Ye instantly snapped out of it and protested loudly. "I don't want to do that despicable thing." Hearing this, Shinanjo frowned deeply, pretending to have just woken up as he opened his eyes to look at me. "Yer's skin is delicate. She can't do rough work." After hearing that, I immediately feigned grievance and started sobbing. "Husband, are you disgusted with me for having rough skin, for being a hag? If that is the case, then just write a letter of divorce, and I'll take my dowry and go back to my parents' home right now." The moment they heard I was taking my dowry, the dog couple and the bastard instantly panicked. After all, the shop's business was only enough to cover daily expenses. The real big money was my dowry. Wiping away imaginary tears, I mimicked Liu Ye's manipulative manner and said sarcastically, "Sister Ye wouldn't do such lowly work, so why am I doing it? Husband, didn't you say you wanted to live and die with me? Do you expect me to go to the underworld just to continue being a serving drudge? If that is the case, then I'm not dying." As soon as he heard I wasn't planning to live and die with Shinanjo, Wang Dazhuang wasn't having it. He pushed and shoved Liu Ye forward. From now on, my mom will take care of eldest uncle. Liu Ye opened her mouth to object, but it was covered. Mom, it is just feeding eldest uncle and wiping his drool. What is there that you can't do? Liu Ye glanced at Xinanzhou with a troubled look. But what about going to the latrine? Wang Dazhuang patted his chest and promised, I'll do it. Eldest uncle has always been good to me. I'll carry eldest uncle to the latrine every night from now on. Xinanzhou looked at his own illegitimate son. So moved he started to sob out loud and praised with slurred words, Dazhuang is truly filial, so much better than your female cousin. Ah, even at a time like this, he doesn't forget to put my daughter down. First, take a look at how disgusted your darling cousin is, by the drool running down your chin. In my last life, I was the one who meticulously tended to all of Xinanzhou's needs. Liu Ye and Wang Dazhuang, they just came to his bedside every day, crying and sniveling, pretending to be worried just for show. They never lifted a finger, not even once. This time, I'm really looking forward to seeing how fast his illness will deteriorate under the care of Liu Ye and her son. After a day of commotion, the neighbors dispersed, and Xinanzhou was eagerly helped into the house by that mother and son. Taking advantage of the moment, I had the old woman at home hurry to the shop and bring my daughter back to my parents' home. In my previous life, after Liu Ye and her son framed my daughter for having an illicit affair, they stripped her naked, threw her onto the main street, and then she was sold to an old bachelor by Wang Dazhuang. That very night, my daughter hanged herself in despair. This time, I absolutely cannot give them another chance to make a move. After arranging everything, I had a wonderful sleep. The next day, I took the keys to the family storehouse and all the silver and went to the shop. I had been busy for less than 2 hours when Wang Dazhuang stormed over. He demanded to know why I didn't leave them any money and even sent away the old servant woman, asking if I wanted to starve them to death. I spread my hands and said there was no money. How much have the expenses increased since you all moved in? I don't have the money to hire another old woman to cook. If you want to eat, get your mom to do it. You guys don't actually think serving Xinanzhou is as simple as just wiping his drool, do you? Wang Dazhuang immediately blew up when he heard what I said, glaring at me through gritted teeth. I hummed a tune nonchalantly while eating the steamed buns sold next door. So yummy, Wang Dazhuang was already antsy from hunger, and now he was seething with rage. He ran out onto the main street, sat on the ground, and started crying and yelling, Su Wangqing, your man is about to die from sickness. Not only did you refuse to get him treatment, you even ran off with all the money, not even leaving a bite of food for him. You venomous bitch, are you just waiting for your man to die so you can go find a lover? Is that it? Don't anyone buy anything from this whore's family. Be careful you don't catch some filthy disease. The crowd of onlookers grew, and Wang Dazhuang got more and more worked up with his cursing. The crowd was moved by his pitiful state, and one after another, they joined in on cursing me. Some even got so worked up they started throwing rotten vegetable leaves at my doorway. Even the customers who were just browsing in my shop glared at me in disgust and quickly left. I slowly walked out of the shop to face Wang Dazhuang's smug expression. He knew I considered this shop my lifeline, so he was sure I would give in and pay him to shut up. But this time, I just nonchalantly closed up shop and went home. The first thing I did upon entering the courtyard was to announce to the starving Xinanzhou and Liu Ye that because Wang Dazhuang spread rumors about me, the shop can't stay open anymore. I'm planning on closing up. I'm just gonna let it rot. The moment Liu Ye heard this, she wasn't having it, questioning me. If you quit, then what about the household expenses? I spread my hands. Eat my dowry. If not, sell the house. We can at least get by for a year or half. Xinanzhou and Liu Ye exchanged a glance. And then, I looked at the flustered dog and bitch with a bright smile. Anyway, there is nothing left at home, so let's die together. Xinanzhou knew how important the shop was to me, and he didn't believe I could really give up my hard work, so he didn't take my words seriously at all. He even mocked me with Liu Ye and her son for being petty and arguing with the same child. I couldn't be bothered to listen to the 3 big idiots entertaining themselves, So I turned and took some of my dowry silver from the storeroom and left Salsa. In the previous life, in order to make Zhou, who didn't make money, not feel inferior, I gave him almost all the money in the family. I was reluctant to eat or drink, suffering hardship, only to find out in the end that all that money was spent on Liu Ye and her son. In this life, I'm going to buy the whole long street. It wasn't until dark that I returned home with big bags and small bags. As soon as I entered the courtyard, I saw the three of them with black faces glaring at me. Zhou slammed the table. Su Wenqing, why are you back so late? And you bought so many things. I never realized before that you are such a vain woman. I rolled my eyes. Spending my own money. What is it to you? Zhou had never been talked back to by me and was enraged. Su Wenqing, how dare you speak to your husband like that? Hurry up and cook. Otherwise, you won't be allowed to sleep in the same bed with me tonight. I can't wait to get away from this dog man. Didn't Liu Ye say she is serving you? Then let her serve you, my dear cousin. I don't know which word I said triggered Zhou, but he seemed to suddenly realize something and arrogantly raised his eyebrows at me. Qing is jealous of Yar. I know how handsome I am, which makes Qing insecure, but I only love Qing. Even for something as good as facing life and death together, I only want Qing to accompany me. Qing, be good and go cook for your husband. Let Yer see what an obedient wife I married. Go to your grandma's leg. What kind of spell was cast on me in my past life to be coupled with such a greasy man for a lifetime? I threw the pork knuckle and oily rice I bought on the table and quickly went into the guest room. I was afraid I'd throw up in the courtyard if I stayed a second longer. The three of them, who had been hungry all day, started devouring it ravenously, especially Zhou, who had no restraint. From then on, I got up early every day to get silver from the storeroom. At night, I returned laden with goods. By the way, I bought them greasy food. In less than 10 days, Zhou, who had no restraint, visibly gained a lot of weight. But at the same time, as I spent more and more money, they finally couldn't sit still. They told me to hurry up and make money at the shop. I said aggrievedly. Wang Dazhuang said, I'm not prudent. Now customers are afraid of catching diseases. Who would buy anything? Unless he kowtows and apologizes to me in front of everyone at the door of my shop and clears my name. Otherwise, I will absolutely not go back to the shop. Upon hearing my words, Wang Dazhuang jumped up, pointed at me, and cursed. Su Wenqing, you bitch! Who do you think you are to dare make me kowtow and apologize to you? Believe it or not, I'll have my big uncle divorce you right now and make you get out of the Shia family, I sneered. This courtyard was bought for me by my family. If anyone's getting out, it is your big uncle taking you all with him. I went into the house and bundled all of Zhou's things together. Then I threw them out the door. Zhou, Wang Dazhuang wants you to divorce me, so I won't keep you. My decisiveness stunned the three of them. It was Liu Ye who reacted first, giving Zhou a push. He twisted his mouth, staring at me in disbelief. That is enough, Su Wenqing. Zhou had an expression as if I were being unreasonable. In the end, aren't you just driven mad with jealousy seeing Ye take care of me every day? But no matter what, you can't make things difficult for a child. I really couldn't stand to hear such disgusting words anymore, so I just went crazy. Zhou, you should take a piss and look at your own reflection. Your mouth is crooked and your eyes are askew. You look like a retard. You're fat and bloated like a sow. I'd rather fall for an old fool on the street than ever give you a second glance. You creepy, disgusting man. I looked at the three of them, who were stunned by my scolding, and still not satisfied, threw everything I could get my hands on at them. Seeing that I was serious, Liu Ye and Wang Dazhuang scurried off to hide, leaving only Zhou, who was trembling with anger and couldn't walk fast, to take the critical hit all by himself. If Wang Dazhuang doesn't kowtow and admit his mistake to me today, I'm going to the shop and spending my entire dowry. Maybe it is because my freak Dan out was so thorough. Wang Dazhuang was in the end reluctantly dragged by Liu Ye to the shop entrance to kowtow and admit his fault to me. He stared at me with a venomous look, his vicious expression telling me this wasn't over. I returned his gaze defiantly. Of course this isn't over, because I'm going to make your lives a living hell. In the days that followed, I'd be at the shop during the day, and when I came back at night, I'd see the three of them being all happy and harmonious like a family. I once casually mentioned during a meal that Xiananzhou shouldn't eat anything too greasy. It is bad for his recovery and could shorten his life. I caught Liu Yer and her son exchanging a look. The next day, sure enough, he saw a table full of fish and meat. Xiananzhou wanted to eat, but didn't dare to. Liu Yer picked up a piece of pork knuckle, placed it in his bowl, and persuaded, "Cousin, being able to eat is a blessing. Cousin Xiananzhan Law is just stingy. She doesn't want you to get better. That way, you can't go out, and she can use this to keep you by her side." When Xiananzhou heard this, he immediately became confident. That makes sense. Qingqing just loves me too much. Unlike you, who is so generous. His already fat and swollen hand groped Liu Yer's waist, and he shot her a flirty wink. Then he looked at me provocatively, as if to say, "See, I'm touching her and not you. Eat your heart out." But Xiananzhou didn't see that after Liu Yer feigned shyness and dodged away. Her eyes were filled with loathing. That night, in the dead of night, while I was thinking about how to bring them to ruin and disgrace, I heard someone come out of the next room and go into Liu Yer's room. Liu Yer grumbled in a hushed voice, "Mom, I've had enough of that fatso Xiananzhou. He drools all day and eats like a pig. When is he going to die?" "Wang Dazhuang," Liu Yer said nervously. "We kill him." "What if we get caught?" Wang Dazhuang said in a sinister tone. "Then let's just say that woman Su Wangqing killed him. Say she has a secret lover, so she killed her husband to silence him. When she is beheaded, we'll sell her daughter, and this home will be ours." I've been spending money like water lately, and sure enough, it is making them feel the pinch. I just never thought that after I'd already sent my daughter away, this son of a bitch would still have his sights on her. Ha, sell my daughter. Then I'll sell this little bastard first. The next morning, I went straight to the biggest male brothel in the city, after showing the Madame Wang Dazhuang's portrait. She turned her head away in disgust. "He is way too hideous. Summoning like him, even if I bought him, he'd just be a moneyed and losing commodity. What kind of blind patron would choose him to pour drinks?" I glanced at the portrait, which the artist had already beautified, and also felt a wave of disgust. As they say, one's appearance reflects one's heart. His thoughts were sinister, vicious, and filthy. That is why, at such a young age, his face was already full of brutish flesh. The madam threw the portrait on the ground in disgust. Then, as if she had touched something filthy, she wiped her hands with a handkerchief. She blamed me for wasting her time and got up to leave. I immediately reached out and stopped her. "This little bastard Wang Dazhuang. I have to sell him even if I have to pay for it. Besides, he is the apple of Xiananzhou and Liu Yer's eye. I must make this despicable couple watch with their own eyes, as their son is being toyed with by men." I gritted my teeth, took out 100 taels of silver, and stuffed it into the madam's hand, telling her she absolutely had to take Wang Dazhuang. And I told her this little bastard has a bad temper, so she must teach him the rules properly, and definitely show no mercy. The madam weighed it in her hand and gave a wicked smile. "Don't you worry, even the wildest wolf, in my hands, will obediently become a dog that only knows how to lick. Tonight, I'll arrange for him to serve a client." I left the male brothel and went to the shop. I calculated the time, waiting until the sun set in the west. Only then did I hum a song on my way home. I had thought the house would be a mess because of Wang Dazhuang's disappearance, but when I walked into the courtyard, all I could hear were the two of them flirting inside the house. So these two big idiots still haven't realized their son is missing, have they? I pushed the door open and went in, seeing the two of them hugging each other. The shameless couple quickly separated. Liu Yer wiped her smudged lipstick. Xiananzhou covered up his fat sand-covered body, and like a thief crying, "Stop thief," angrily cursed at me. "Why did you come in without knocking, such an uncultured village woman?" Yer was just helping me wash my body. Don't get the wrong idea. I couldn't be bothered with them, and just said that the biggest male brothel in the city was having a song and dance performance tonight. I suggested with a broad smile. Husband, you haven't been out for many days. Why don't we go see the excitement together today? And while we're at it, witness their most beloved son having his first night bid on by men, but they wouldn't be able to take out a single cent to ransom him. By the time the three of us rushed to the entrance of the male brothel, Wang Dazhuang was just being pushed onto the high platform. However, to maintain a sense of mystery, the male brothel always has newcomers. Wear a mask. There was also a handkerchief stuffed in his mouth. His hands were tied behind his back. Wang Dazhuang kept struggling desperately, but he was held down, forced to kneel on the ground. At that moment, the madam went on stage and announced the rules of the game for the night. This kid is a stubborn one. So tonight, we'll have to trouble you gentlemen to help us discipline him a little. For just 10 taels of silver, you can get on stage and discipline him for a quarter of an hour. After speaking, she gave a grand wave of her hand. She unveiled the rack on the stage covered with a red cloth. On it, there were whips, feathers, handcuffs, a dog collar, etc. The dazzling array of props made the perverts in the audience cheer with excitement. Several burly men had even started throwing silver onto the stage, eagerly trying to rush up. And as for that son of a bitch, Wang Dazhuang, he was usually arrogant and domineering. But seeing these things now, his whole body went limp with fright. Then he struggled with all his might, whimpering and crying in the room, but he couldn't speak. The madam collected the silver, and soon a large man was invited onto the stage. He picked up the whip without any hesitation. He lashed it onto Wang Dazhuang's body with almost no hesitation. The pain made him curl up on the ground. A round of cheers came from below the stage. I turned my head to look at Xinanzhou and Liu Yer. Both of them were also full of excitement watching the farce on stage. Liu Yer even mumbled with regret. We should have let Dazhuang come see the world too, I sneered. Not only has your son seen the world, he is experiencing the world right now. People took turns going on stage to train them. Wang Dazhuang was already limp on the ground, tormented by various props. I thoughtfully asked Xinanzhou beside me, Husband, you haven't been this happy in a long time. Do you want to try too? Xinanzhou's eyes immediately lit up, and he started rubbing his hands together. But he still put on his usual hypocritical demeanor of a seemingly upright gentleman. This kind of lowly act, it is not good for a scholar like me to do, is it? He just knows a few characters, and he considers himself a scholar. I must have been blind to live with someone who puts on such an act. After Xinanzhou finished speaking, he waited for me to give him an out, just like before, over and over again. As if he couldn't refuse me, he pretended to reluctantly agree. But I didn't say anything this time anyway. He is the one who is itching for it now. He is the one who wants to play. And it is them that Wang Dazhuang will hate later. Xinanzhou waited for a long time and saw that I hadn't said anything. He coughed loudly with dissatisfaction. I pretended not to hear, and even yawned boredly. It is boring. Let's go home. Before I could turn around, Xinanzhou grabbed me. He held out his hand to me. Give me money. I covered my mouth in surprise. Husband, you're a scholar. Do you also want to do those lowly things? Xinanzhou turned his head away unnaturally. Stop the nonsense. He willingly fell into degradation and put himself up for sale. I'm educating him for his parents. I held back a laugh and handed over the silver. Liu Yer also excitedly followed along to the front of the stage. Wang Dazhuang was already a bit delirious. But the moment Xinanzhou opened his mouth to pay, he still recognized the voice. He struggled to open his eyes, and when he saw Xinanzhou and Liu Yer, he became instantly agitated. He used the last ounce of his strength, desperately trying to stand up. His throat was filled with heart-rending whimpers, but unfortunately, his parents didn't recognize him at all. They even, more viciously than the others, picked out a dog leash and tied it around his neck. Xinanzhou had pretended to be sanctimonious and not petty in front of others for so many years. In reality, he was just a good Zan for Dan nothing. The neighbors all said behind his back that he was a kept man. When people were deliberately passive and aggressive to his face, he didn't dare to talk back because he is a coward. But at this moment, he finally had the chance to be the one stomping on someone else. He released the great evil in his heart. He gripped the dog leash tightly, dragging Wang Dazhuang around the stage with all his might. Wang Dazhuang was dragged until he had no strength to resist. He couldn't scream, nor could he move. And Lu Ye, afraid she wasn't getting her money's worth, grabbed a whip from the side and lashed Wang Dazhuang's body. The pain made him convulse all over. The jeers from below the stage became fuel for the two of them. They tortured him with even more vigor. He was dragged for a dozen or so laps on the stage. Even Wang Dazhuang's collar was chafed loose. Liu Yar was whipping energetically, and when she looked down, her gaze fell upon the exposed chest of the person on the ground. There, shockingly, was a dark red birthmark. She froze on the spot, and the whip in her hand also stopped. Xinanzhou chided unhappily. "Hurry up and whip him. Time is almost up." But Liu Ye tremblingly knelt down and slowly reached out to take off the mask. Because his view was blocked by Liu Ye, Xinanzhou was still dragging him with force. He kept muttering, "If you want to blame someone, blame your parents, who told them to sell you to this kind of place to be tortured. Even if you become a ghost in the future, you must never let go of those parents who sold their son for glory." As soon as his voice fell, Liu Ye was heard letting out a sharp scream. Then she collapsed to the ground, revealing the unmasked Wang Dazhuang. Xinanzhou met Wang Dazhuang's crimson eyes, which were filled with pain and hatred, and was instantly stunned in place. The dog leash in his hand also fell from his grasp. The people below were confused, still jeering about why it had stopped. Liu Ye was seen crawling to Wang Dazhuang, crying and hugging him. She kept shouting, "My son! My son!" The crowd fell silent for a moment, followed by even louder cheers. This bunch of perverts got even more excited after knowing they were mother and son. Some people even threw silver onto the stage, just to have Liu Ye continue torturing her own son. Of course, she was unwilling, and with trembling hands, wanted to untie Wang Dazhuang. "Son, what are you doing here?" The hatred in Wang Dazhuang's eyes erupted, and he stared deadly at Xinanzhou, who was scared stiff on the spot. "Did you just say that it was my parents who sold me here? That I shouldn't let my parents go even if I become a ghost, is that right?" The little mutt, whose eyes were already vicious, was now terrifyingly grim. Paired with the fresh blood seeping from the corner of his mouth, he looked just like a malevolent ghost that had crawled out of hell. Xinanzhou was so scared he immediately pissed himself on the stage. Liu Ye hastily explained that it wasn't the two of them who sold Wang Dazhuang. As she was speaking, the madam walked onto the stage. She said Liu Ye and Xinanzhou's training session was over, and if they didn't renew, they had to get off the stage. Liu Ye stood in front of Wang Dazhuang, insisting that she had to take her son with her no matter what. The madam sneered, and a group of burly men rushed to the front of the stage, blocking their way out. The madam glanced at the audience below, and her eyes met mine for a moment. I gave a slight nod. She instantly looked away, then said to Liu Ye, "Want to take him away? Fine, boy out his contract, 500 taels." Liu Ye yelled, "You kidnapped my son, and I haven't even reported you to have this den of depravity of yours shut down. And you still dare ask me for money?" The madam looked at her like she was an idiot. "You sold him, so now he belongs to me. To take him away, it'll be 500 taels. You're bullshitting." Liu Ye stomped her foot. "How could I possibly sell my son?" The madam pulled out a deed of sale from her bosom, the signature on it clearly written with the 3 big characters of Xinanzhou. Liu Ye snatched the paper and examined it carefully. It was indeed Xinanzhou's handwriting. She immediately pounced on the man and started beating him. "You rotten, black sand-hearted son of a bitch, you dared to sell my son. However much money you took from them, hurry up and give it back, or else I'll take your life." As she spoke, she reached out to fumble in Xinanzhou's clothes, trying to find the silver from the sale. Xinanzhou vehemently denied it, saying he wasn't the one who sold him. "Liu Ye, this is your handwriting. and you still won't admit it. Hurry up and take out the money. I'm begging you, take out the money and save Dazhuang. He is your son, too. As soon as her voice fell, I quickly walked to the front of the stage and, pointing at Liu Yer, cursed, "Stop your vicious slander. The doctor said long ago that my husband is completely infertile. He just can't get it up." The moment I said, "Can't get it up," everyone's eyes simultaneously fell on the area below Shinanzhou's waist. He subconsciously reached out to cover himself. A flash of panic went through Liu Yer's eyes, but she immediately put her hands on her hips. "Dazhuang is his son. He was in my bed long before he married you." I looked as shocked and disappointed as if I had just learned of this. Then she pretended to be annoyed, crying and shouting as she went to hit Shinanzhou. It seemed random, but in reality, every punch landed on his heart. The pain made him curl up on the ground until the madam said, "Can he do it or not? Won't we know if we find a doctor to take a look?" The male brothel had a doctor they worked with years and round, who arrived very quickly. When he confirmed with certainty that Shinanzhou was indeed infertile, Liu Yer also collapsed to the ground. Actually, this secret was something I only discovered after my rebirth. It was after the diagnosis that the doctor secretly told me. I secretly asked someone to help me look into it. Only then did I discover that back then, Liu Yer wasn't just having an affair with Shinanzhou. She also had several other patrons. She didn't know whose child it was either, so she just picked the easiest one to control. And after I found out about this, I had been waiting for an opportunity. I had to deliver the final blow when they were at their most desperate. That is why I gave the madam so much money to have her kidnap Wang Dazhuang. I also imitated Shinanzhou's handwriting to sign the indenture contract, and had the madam put on this act with me. I glanced at Shinanzhou, who, having been hit by one blow after another, was lying on the ground having a second stroke. He had pretended to be a scholar his whole life, yet at this moment he was incontinent. Leaving a foul stench all over the floor, the madam disgustedly had someone drag him off the stage. Then she turned and asked Liu Yer, "Are you going to buy his freedom or not?" Where would Liu Yer get any money? She knelt down, crying and begging the madam to release her son. But they were running a male brothel, not a charity. If you don't have money, then scram. Don't stop your son from entertaining his patrons. Seeing this commotion, the crowd's interest in Wang Dazhuang surged to an unprecedented high. Many people were rubbing their hands together, eager to bid. Wang Dazhuang suddenly knelt down and kowtowed to me several times with loud bang-bang sounds. "Auntie, I'm begging you. Please save me. If you save me, I'll be your loyal servant for the rest of my life, and I'll take care of you in your old age and see to your burial." Looking at the sincere expression on Wang Dazhuang's face, my own face was expressionless. But inside, I was utterly shocked. This little bastard is really adaptable. I slowly walked over to him, squatted down, and looked him in the eye. Then I lovingly straightened his messy clothes. After everything was in order, I asked in a voice that only I, and Liu Yer could hear, "It is not impossible for you to take care of me in my old age and see to my burial. I can pay to save you, but whenever I think about your mother and my husband getting together, I feel disgusted. Tell me, what should be done about this?" After I finished speaking, I stared straight at Wang Dazhuang. I threw the problem to him. Sure enough, with almost no hesitation, he gave me his answer. "Then I won't support her anymore. From now on, you're my mother." Liu Yer was shocked, looking at her own son in disbelief. "Dazhuang, what are you talking about? I'm your mother. How can you call this woman your mother?" Wang Dazhuang glared at her with disgust. "Shut up, you shameless slut. You've made me a kept man for Shinanzhou for so many years. Now that he has sold me, you can't even come up with a single coin. You don't deserve to be my mother." Liu Yer was so angry she clutched her chest. Wang Dazhuang grinned and asked me for money. "Mother, hurry up and buy me back." I took out the silver notes from my sleeve and said to him, pretending to be troubled, "But I only have 300 taels. I'm still short 200. Wang Dazhuang got angry when he heard this and was just about to lose his temper, when the madam was heard saying, "Why don't you sell her to me? That will cover the 200 taels. We followed her voice and saw that the person the madam was pointing at was Lu Yer. Lu Yer was so scared she forgot to cry, just kept shaking her head. Wang Dezhuang grabbed his own mother's arm without hesitation, his face ferocious. Mother, since you love sleeping with men anyway, your son will consider this an act of filial piety, letting you have fun every night. Liu Yer cried and struggled. Son, don't, mother doesn't want to be sold. But how could Wang Dezhuang listen? He directly pressed his fingerprint on the indenture contract. He sold the mother who gave birth to and raised him with his own hands. After Lu Yer was dragged away, Wang Dezhuang once again cast his greedy eyes on the silver notes in my hand. Just as he wished, I gave the silver notes to the madam. He was so happy he was about to run off the stage, but his path was blocked by the thugs. He arrogantly shouted, "Scram! I'm a free man now!" I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Wang Dezhuang finally sensed something was wrong and stared at me in shock. I glared at him fiercely. Wang Dezhuang, you're an animal who sold his own mother, and you still want freedom. Just rot in here, and for all of eternity be a worthless slut for others to ride. Realizing he'd been tricked, Wang Dezhuang lunged at me like a madman. But he was grabbed by the scruff of his neck by a thug. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape the fate of being played with. Wang Dezhuang screamed his lungs out at me. You bitch, you just wait. I'm going to fucking kill you. Ha, I sneered. How could I possibly give him a chance for revenge? That 300 taels was to buy the lives of him and his mother, to ensure they wouldn't see the sun tomorrow. I told the madam I would bring wolfhounds tomorrow morning to collect the bodies. Then I walked to the small alley next door. After all, Shinanzhou was still there waiting for me. He was slumped on the ground at this moment. When I was a few steps away from him, I smelled a foul stench. By the light of the lantern in my hand, I could see clearly that his mouth was twisted and his eyes were askew. Shinanzhou's stroke had relapsed, and it was even more severe than I had imagined. At this moment he wanted to get up, but his limbs wouldn't obey him. I looked with disgust at the culprit before me who caused the deaths of my daughter and me. If it weren't for this beast who can't control his lower body fooling around with Lu Yer, how would all those things that happened later have occurred? But compared to Wang Dezhuang and Lu Yer, he was already like a useless person. I'm not in a hurry to have him die tomorrow morning. Instead, I found a lot of junk and threw it all on top of him. This alley is remote and few people ever come in. Looking from afar, one would only think it is a pile of stinking junk. Just let him lose hope bit by bit and starve to death here, and I will wait for the dawn to arrive. It is also time for my wolfhounds to eat.